Have you ever seen a Malong plush that can catch a cold? You touch it, it hums and chirps. You ignore it, it will be sad. If you catch a cold, coughing loudly in front of it, be careful. It might be contagious to you. It is an Ari pet. It has its own Chinese name, meaty pie. Such a toy. How much would you spend? 300 or 500? In fact, each one costs over 1,000 yuan. Not cheap. But, interestingly, there were quite a few people who bought it. As of April this year, it has been sold to more than 50 countries and regions worldwide. Shipments are close to 20,000 units. Some time ago, I asked about Chinese entrepreneurs this company visited in Beijing. It's called Ally Intelligence. After the conversation, I have a very deep feeling about it. In the RE era, we want to make good products. You might really need it. Re-understanding the value of emotions. These 4 words. 1. If not, it is not necessarily a defect. It could be strategic. Most people working on RE hardware today all are striving for strength and better at talking and better at answering. They also help you order takeout and set your schedule. However, if you're making companion products, does it really need to be that strong? Not necessarily. Tool-type products. Of course, it has to be strong. You buy a robot vacuum. I hope it gets cleaner the more you sweep. Using RE assistants. I hope he handles things clearly. But the value of accompanying new products, not to help you with work. Instead, it makes you willing to work for him. Strength is to provide efficiency. Weakness is meant to inspire care. On Ru Baibai's body, you can see their weak designs everywhere. He wants to sleep. Hunger and loneliness abound. You don't spend a long time with him. He might even start crying. CEO He Jiabin. He distilled this weakness into 3 words. Weak intelligence. A weak eater. Vulnerable groups. Weak intelligence. It's about deliberately keeping the product from being too perfect. Let him be cared for. Attention, because of emotional connection, often comes from giving. If it could do anything, it becomes a tool. Weak section. It is about identifying the moment when users' emotional energy is at its lowest. For example, working late at night, weekends at home, and issued loans alone. Then offer comfort. Vulnerable groups. The demand for service companionship is strong, but for those with limited companion resources. For example, young people working hard in big cities. Children who want pets. Did you notice? Weakness can also be a form of product strength. Usefulness solves problems. Care is the key to building relationships. And when relationships are established, subsequent accessory subscriptions, there will be more space. Second, it's also called emotional value. There could be 3 completely different voices. Seeing this, I want to ask a question on the spot. May I ask about how RE is becoming increasingly powerful now? Meat padding. Should we also get stronger next? For example, letting him speak. For example, turning him into an RE assistant. My view is straightforward. Don't let him speak so easily. Why? Because on the surface, this is a technical choice. Essentially, it's a positioning choice. If you look at its appearance, you might think it's just a toy. The next step is to assemble the material. Styling the style. If you look at its features, it feels like RE hardware. The next step is to build the model. Compete in dialogue. But are users really paying for these things? The appearance will be imitated. Features will be caught up. In the end, everyone looks more and more alike. Prices kept dropping. Profits are getting thinner and thinner. What truly decides what users pay for? That's another issue. Users buy it. What value is it really buying? For companion new products, this value is most likely called emotional value. Of course, many people talk about emotional value. Just treat it as a frame. You can fit anything inside. But if anything can be explained, it cannot explain anything, so you need to disassemble it thoroughly. Also called emotional value. It could be 3 completely different supernatural phenomena. Let's look at it from a neurobiological perspective. Behind people's positive emotions. In fact, it corresponds to different nerve secretions. Oxytocin dopamine is an abnormal state. The first is dopamine. It brings the joy you desire. At its core, desire is anticipation. It comes from the moment you get the money. You scroll through short videos, looking forward to the next article being even better. You open the blind box, your heart races. The anticipation is a hidden version. These behaviors all trigger dopamine. Do the dopamine business. The essence is to create expectations and control probabilities. For example, Pop Mart's blind boxes. Before opening it, you don't know what's inside. After opening it, it might be a surprise. It could also be disappointment. It sells the hope of possibly winning the prize. The second type, oxytocin. It brings the warmth that is needed. The core is attachment. Be needed. It comes from contact and giving. You have a cat. Eat it well. You yourself feel satisfied. This sense of satisfaction, not from what you get. It's that you are needed. Taking care of the children. Take care of pets. It's all the same principle. Doing the oxytocin business. Essentially, it is about creating dependency. For example, Jellycat. In recent years, a plush toy brand that's absolutely wild. A fluffy eggplant. A furry coffee cup. No function at all, but it can sell for several hundred or even 1,000. It sells the warmth that is needed. It is filled with oxytocin. The third type is nefetai. It brings a sense of accomplishment. The core is the pain and joy. It comes from effort and overcoming. After running 5 kilometers, clear hardcore games, learn a very difficult skill. Every moment of pain and joy, it's all nefetai rewarding you. Doing business in nefetai. The essence is to set the challenge. Delivering achievements, fitness, extreme sports, education, all of them fall into this category. Did you notice? Also called emotional value. The underlying mechanisms may be completely different. The recipe is right. Only then can emotions become value. The recipe is wrong. The harder you work, the farther it may be from users. 3. Equality. It is the natural enemy of oxytocin. Understanding this framework, you'll understand. Why do I say don't let the meat pat just yet? He spoke easily. It's not because technology can't do it. Today's large model capabilities. Let a plush toy start a conversation. It's too easy. Connect an API. Adjust a few ports. It can chat with you. Telling jokes. A real issue is, if it's like bean buns, we can talk about anything. So is it still the original version? Meat pies are satisfied. It is the emotional value of oxytocin. It will be hungry, will roll, and will be lonely. You touch it, it hums and rubs against you. Your relationship is unequal. It is precisely this imbalance. Only then can we create the value that is needed. But once it becomes smart enough, he could still speak. What will happen? Imagine this. You just picked up a piece of cake. It opens to detect high-calorie foods. It is recommended that you control your intake. Do you still think it's cute? That feeling of being needed. Most likely, it will disappear all at once because it comes from a child who needs care. It became an equal. A cold efficiency assistant. Equality is the backbone of the oxytocin business. The core mechanism of oxytocin is giving and being needed. Once the relationship becomes equal, giving becomes use, care becomes interaction. The emotional formula is misused. After returning to Shanghai, He Jiabin told me some news. Ru Baibai would indeed speak next, but he won't be like bean buns. They can chat about any topic, but like a 3-year-old child. He could only roughly remember what his master said. What do you like? Who's at home? He was still the child who needed care, just learned to use richer methods. Express yourself. This choice was made very restrained. Sometimes you decide not to do anything. It takes more courage than deciding what to do. Finally, Ari is powerful, but especially at times like this. The less you want to hold Ari as a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Not every product needs to become an Ari assistant. Not all companions need to speak. Making products. The most important thing is not to ask first, what other functions can I add? Instead, think it through first. Which value are users actually willing to pay for? Slow to understand. It's better to be so muddle-headed. Follow Liu Run. Lowering the cognitive barrier for business.